What's up, football fanatics? Before we dive into what might be the most earth-shattering bombshell to hit Cleveland in years, do me a favor and smash that subscribe button right now, because trust me, you're not going to want to miss a single second of what's about to unfold. The NFL just woke up to absolute chaos, and I'm here to break down every insane angle of this story that has the entire league scrambling to make sense of what just happened. Myles Garrett. Yeah, that Myles Garrett, the absolute monster who's been the heartbeat of Cleveland's defense since 2017, is reportedly on his way out, and nobody, and I mean nobody, saw this coming. We're talking about a player who redefined what it means to dominate on the defensive line, a generational talent who turned opposing quarterbacks into nervous wrecks every single Sunday. This isn't just a roster move. This is a full-blown earthquake that's about to reshape the entire landscape of professional football, and we need to talk about why this is happening, what it means, and where everything goes from here. Let's rewind for a second and remember who we're dealing with here. When the Browns took Garrett first overall back in 2017, it felt like the franchise was finally making a statement. We're building something real, something dangerous, something that can compete. And Garrett delivered on every single promise. The speed, the power, the relentless motor that never quit, he became the guy opposing offenses had to game plan around every week. You couldn't ignore him, you couldn't block him with just one guy, and you definitely couldn't sleep on him for even a split second. He was the kind of player that changes the entire complexion of a game just by stepping onto the field, and for years, fans believed he was untouchable, the one piece of this puzzle that would never, ever be moved. So what changed? How did we go from Garrett being the foundation of this team to suddenly being shown the door? That's the million-dollar question everyone's trying to answer right now, and the theories are absolutely wild. Rumor mill is spinning out of control, and depending on who you ask, there are about a dozen different explanations for why this is happening. Some insiders are whispering about contract disputes, suggesting that maybe Garrett and the front office couldn't see eye to eye on what his next deal should look like. Others are pointing fingers at potential locker room tension, hinting that maybe things weren't as smooth behind the scenes as everyone thought. Then you've got the strategic angle. Could the Browns be pivoting toward a completely different defensive philosophy, one that prioritizes depth and versatility over having one singular superstar eating up a massive chunk of a salary cap? On paper, that reasoning sounds logical, but let's be real here. When you have a player of Garrett's caliber, a guy who can single-handedly wreck an entire offensive game plan, you don't just let him walk unless something major is going on. And that's what makes this whole situation so fascinating and so frustrating at the same time, because we're all just piecing together fragments of information, trying to figure out what's really driving this decision. Now, let's talk about what this means for the rest of the league, because trust me, every single team with a pulse is paying attention right now. Elite pass rushers don't hit the market like this. It just doesn't happen. When a player of Garrett's talent becomes available, it creates a feeding frenzy, and you better believe that general managers across the NFL are already on the phone, running numbers, scheming up offers, and imagining what their defense would look like with Garrett wreaking havoc off the edge. Imagine him joining a team that's already contending, a squad with a solid secondary, and a couple of other playmakers on defense. He could be the final piece that turns a good team into a championship-caliber juggernaut overnight. We could be looking at a scenario where Garrett ends up in a situation that maximizes his talents in ways Cleveland never quite managed. And if that happens, the Browns are going to have to watch their former cornerstone absolutely terrorize the league, while they're left trying to fill a void that's basically impossible to replace. The financial side of this is equally insane. We're talking about a player who's about to reset the market for defensive ends across the entire NFL. Whatever contract Garrett signs next is going to set the benchmark for years to come, influencing how teams value elite defenders and how future negotiations play out for players at his position. Is he going to chase the biggest payday possible and secure generational wealth for himself and his family? Or is he going to take a team-friendly deal with a legitimate contender, sacrificing a few $1 million for a real shot at a ring? These are the kinds of decisions that define legacies, and Garrett's sitting right in the middle of it all, holding all the leverage in the world. Every agent, scout, and executive is watching this unfold like it's the most gripping drama on television, because the ripple effects are going to be felt across the entire league for years. But here's where it gets even deeper. This isn't just about X's and O's or dollar signs. There's a human element here that can't be ignored. Garrett isn't just a pass rusher. He's a leader, a locker room presence, a guy that younger players looked up to and veteran players respected. His departure leaves a cultural void that's going to be felt in ways statistics can't measure. How does the rest of that defense respond when their most dominant player is suddenly gone? How does team morale hold up when the guy who set the standard for effort and intensity every single day is no longer around? These are the questions that keep coaches up at night, and Cleveland's going to have to find answers fast if they want to avoid a complete collapse on that side of the ball. Fans are already mourning the end of an era, reminiscing about legendary sacks, game-changing plays, and the sheer spectacle that Garrett brought every time he suited up. This is bigger than football. This is about identity, loyalty, and what it means to be part of something special. And let's not forget about the fans, because social media is absolutely on fire right now. Every platform you check is flooded with reactions. Some people are furious, convinced that the Browns are making a catastrophic mistake that's going to set the franchise back for years. Others are cautiously optimistic, hoping that maybe, just maybe, the front office has a master plan that we're not seeing yet, some long-term vision that's going to pay off down the road. The debates are intense, the hot takes are flying, and everyone's got a theory about what's really going on behind closed doors. Podcasts are dissecting every word from team executives. Analysts are breaking down film trying to predict what defensive scheme Cleveland might run without Garrett. And fans are creating elaborate scenarios about where he'll land next and what that means for the entire playoff picture. This isn't just a story, it's a full-blown cultural moment, the kind of thing that reminds you why we all love this game so much. So where does Garrett end up? That's the question dominating every conversation right now, and the possibilities are endless. Does he join a team in the AFC and immediately turn a division rival into a nightmare for the Browns twice a year? Does he head to the NFC and help some underdog team make a surprise playoff run? Does he end up on a stacked roster that's one piece away from a Super Bowl? Or does he take a chance on a rebuilding team that's willing to build around him for the next 5 years? Every scenario comes with its own drama, its own storylines, and its own potential to completely shift the balance of power in the league. Analysts are already mapping out dream destinations, fans are photoshopping jerseys, and insiders are dropping hints that make everyone lose their minds trying to decode what's real and what's just smoke. Meanwhile, back in Cleveland, the pressure is mounting. The Browns have to show that this move wasn't just panic, wasn't just short-sighted cost-cutting, wasn't just a franchise giving up on competing. They need to demonstrate that there's a plan, that they've got a vision for how to replace what Garrett brought to the table, and that they're still committed to building a winner. If they can't do that, if this ends up looking like they just let their best player walk for nothing, the backlash is going to be absolutely brutal. Ticket sales, merchandise, fan loyalty, everything's on the line here, and the front office knows it. Here's the thing that makes this whole saga so captivating. It's not just about one player changing teams. This is about power dynamics in the NFL, about how much control superstars have over their own destinies, about whether loyalty still means anything in modern professional sports, and about how one decision can create a domino effect that touches every corner of the league. Garrett's departure from Cleveland is a story that's going to be told and retold for years, debated on talk shows, analyzed in documentaries, and remembered as a turning point in NFL history. We're living through one of those rare moments where everything feels uncertain, where anything seems possible, and where the next chapter could go in 100 different directions. So if you're loving this breakdown and you want to stay locked in on every twist and turn of this insane story, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to Browns Breakout so you never miss an update. Drop your hottest take in the comments. Where do you think Garrett's going, and was this the right move for Cleveland or the biggest mistake in franchise history? The conversation's just getting started, and I want to hear what you're thinking. This is the kind of story that reminds us why we can't look away from this league, why every decision matters, and why football isn't just a game. It's a non-stop drama that keeps us hooked year-round. The Myles Garrett saga is far from over, and we're going to be here tracking every development, every rumor, and every shocking twist until we finally know where this all lands. Stay locked in, stay ready, and let's see where this wild ride takes us next.